Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. If you'll all rise, I'll lead us in prayer best I can. Oh, wondrous God, I thank you for this beautiful Christmas time day.
Thank you, Lord.
Dear Lord, as we gather in this place today, I just want to offer my wonderful friends at Van Wert Elementary and the whole community in Rockmart our prayers as they have had a really hard day.
Yes.
Lord, watch after that family, watch after our PSD family and children that we are blessed with to guard each and every day. Oh, loving Father, as we go through this meeting tonight, let it be a time where you lead this board as you see fit. And Lord, let us hear your call upon us always. In your glorious and wondrous name, I pray these things. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please have a seat. All right, we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order today of this combined session for December 16, 2025. Under routine matters, item A, please let the record indicate that all members are present with the exclusion of Dr. Rita Carter and Dr. Judy Renshaw. We want to keep them in our thoughts and prayers as they're away from us this afternoon. Board, you have had this agenda presented to you. I apologize for my voice, it wants to crack today, but you see this agenda before you. You've had a chance to review it. Do I have a motion to accept the agenda as presented by Ms. Mays? Do I have a second? Mr. Morgan? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It is so approved. Also, Board, under item C, you've had the ability to see the November 11th, 2025 regular session minutes. They need approval. If there's any adjustments or anything like that, we'll need to hear those now. And if we could, have a motion to accept as presented. Got Mr. Williams with the motion, second by Vicky Mays. Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Looks like that got approved too. Good afternoon, Mr. Superintendent.
Good afternoon.
How are you today?
I'm good.
Good, good. Public participation is item 4.
Yes, we have no request for anyone to address the board this afternoon.
All right. So no individuals are requested to meet with us, but item 5, City of Cedartown tab presentation.
Yes, this is the tab presentation that the city is presenting, and I guess I will turn it over to Mr. Edward Guzman at this time.
Yes, sir. What we'll start with is Mr. Tyler Morris with Willow Capital, the developer for the Corners project. He'll have his presentation ready and then discuss the project with the board.
Please come forward.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I've got some printed copies of what we're going to pull up on the screen just because I think the screens are facing towards the crowd.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. So, do I address the board or the?
Address the board, please.
Yeah, you can turn that on.
Sorry, we went the wrong way with it today.
I want to talk to y'all too. All right, well, good evening, board members. My name is Tyler Morris. I'm with Willow Capital Partners. We are a retail developer based in Atlanta, Georgia. And we're proposing and working on a Publix anchored shopping center at the intersection of 27 and Davis Road in Cedartown. This has been a project that we've been working on for over 2 years. I've had a lot of different discussions with the city, county, members of the public. There's been a lot going on with this project, and We're excited about it. The key component of this project is the TAD, the tax allocation district that is being proposed by the city, and I know that there's a firm, KB Advisory, is going to get into, I think, a lot of details on that. We wanted to start with just formally kind of explaining the project, kind of what we're proposing, and obviously we'll be available for questions as they come up. But the anchor of this is public supermarkets. We approached them a couple of years ago and discussed this site in this market, and they've approved it, and we've signed a lease, and they're good to go on it. We've also secured a lot of additional retailers for the inline space. And if you're looking on the site plan, what we call the inline space is basically the red buildings. And then you've got the out parcels, commercial out parcels that are along the frontage. So other retailers that we're in negotiations with that have approved the site are Marshall's, which is a TJ Maxx company, and then also Ross, which is a similar store to Marshall's. They tend to kind of coexist. And then there's 3 or 4 others that we're in early discussions with that we all consider anchors or junior anchors. In addition to that, there's a good bit of small shops, like local, regional, national, smaller format restaurants and retail groups that are engaged, and we're working on securing them for the project. So the total size of the project from a square footage standpoint is around 130,000 square feet. Which has grown as we've started to work on this. We started out around 100, and it's increased to about 130,000 square feet. And so in front of the shopping center are out parcels where we're in discussions with a lot of different types of retail and restaurant groups. Some fast casual, sit down, maybe a quick service, some retail. But as you probably are aware, with public centers, they typically attract a higher quality development, something that we find to be good for the community and is there for a long time. So we approached it this way. Been working closely with GDOT as well to secure access to 27 for the project to move forward. So with that, I'll maybe dive in a little bit to the TAD and kind of the importance of that. So as we've underwritten this deal and worked to secure these retailers to come to the project, there's a deficit in what this project cost versus what makes it viable, financeable, and something that can actually be built. And in Georgia, there are a couple different mechanisms to deal with that with a public-private partnership. In this case, a TAD has been proposed and was approved by a referendum on November 4th by the citizens, supported paving the way for the city to create the TAD so the project could be done. And without that TAD and the support of the city, the school board, and the county, the project won't be able to move forward. And that's just a key point we want to make. When we start to look at this from, I guess, the viewpoint of the school board and all the different entities, we're looking at it from the standpoint of, well, why would each entity participate in this TAD? And beyond creating the project and bringing that to the community, what are the numbers? Like, what are you giving up, or what are you getting? And again, KB will spend some time talking about that, but when we look at this, in the four walls of this project, you know, the property tax revenue that's coming off of this is below 2,500 a year for all taxing entities. I think it's closer to 2,300. And then the school board has their share in county and city and so forth. When the TAD moves forward and hopefully everybody contributes so the project can move forward, that amount will be frozen and will continue to go to all the different entities. But there's a pretty substantial windfall of sales tax that come in. So we deal with these projects quite a bit and do incentives on most retail projects or securing incentives to be able to go forward these days. So we've gotten pretty versed at that. And we run projections on sales for each one of these retailers, based on published data and based on what they tell us. And, we're projecting somewhere in the ballpark of 62 million in sales tax, or 62 million in sales that will be taxed, and the schools gets their 1% of that. So, just that number, that basic math, it's north of 600,000 in revenue to the schools. And you can dial that back and be more conservative. Those numbers we think are already pretty conservative, and compare that to the share of the 2,200 annually, and it's just such a tremendous increase over that. And we think that's a huge benefit, and that's actually a benefit that is unique to retail from an incentive standpoint, is they generate sales tax, not just property tax. So I think, looking at that and understanding those numbers, and KB has got a lot of that in their presentation, I believe. We can dive into that, but I think the main point there is that it's not just this is a great project and supporting it helps make it happen. It's also there's real return on doing so. So with that, let's go a little bit more into the next page here. So these are some elevations that have been approved by these retailers and have been approved by the city through the PUD that was created. And this is the front elevation of the center. So you've got Publix there, Marshalls and Ross. And then kind of on either side, there's small shops and other retail. So that elevation is the elevation basically of the red box on the site plan. What else do we have in here? That may be close to it. This is just a black and white version of the current site plan and the elevations. I'll maybe stop there. If there are any questions, I'm here to answer them, and would love your support for this, and like to see this project happen. So thank you for your time.
Again, board, I'll remind you, this is also, I asked these folks to come today. We do want to have an opportunity to ask any and all questions to these stakeholders of this project, in case they do come before us requesting any participation. So this is the time, if you have some to ask of either party that will be here today.
And I can come back up too, if something comes up to you later.
Yeah, I have one real quick. You just said a minute ago, that without the school board and the county support, that this development would not proceed, correct?
Correct.
Okay, why is that?
Because the city, I guess, has the ability to create the TAD, and they can contribute their millage into the TAD to pay for the site work development costs that the TAD can pay for. But the school board and the county have to agree to participate their millage for the property taxes. And without all three combined, there's not enough funds to go into the project on top of the money that we're putting into it to make it happen. it's actually pretty tight with all three contributing. So I think it's that third, or, you know, of the property tax or close to it, that makes up a big chunk of the available funds for the TAD.
Okay. Other questions as of the current time? And of course, we do have one more presentation by Mr. Guzman, or KD, whoever it might be.
I think it was mentioned at the city meeting, some more of the figures, just for some of the folks that weren't there. Total cost of the project versus, you had mentioned a shortage amount,
Yes.
return on investment type of, can you give us those figures for the ones that weren't there?
Yeah, so, you know, rough figures, it's around a $55 million development project, which includes the land and the site work and, you know, the total project. And the gap that is created to make it work is around 10 million. So we need to take that from 55 to 45 to be able, and then we would, you know, finance and put the rest of the money into the project.
Okay. Any other questions? Might need to keep you around, we won't
Yeah.
definitely like for you to stay.
Okay,
Mr.
yeah.
Guzman, if you will, please go ahead and start your
Yes,
presentation.
and Tate Wilson with KB Advisory Group has the second presentation.
Okay, great.
And her presentation will go to a little bit deeper detail into the sales tax figures and the TAD component.
Thank you. Please come forward, ma'am.
Well, good afternoon. It's good to see some of the faces that we've seen through our other TAD presentations at the city level. I am going to talk through maybe more of the legal logistics and explain what the TAD is as a tool and then how it impacts a school system specifically. And so understanding that your participation, obviously you have the responsibility of understanding the public funds that are available to support schools, and so that's what we really narrowed in on. If you've seen the presentation previously, it was kind of an all-encompassing of all parties. This one is thinking specifically of you all and the decisions that you need to make. I'm Tate Wilson, I'm director with KB Advisory Group. My firm, KB Advisory Group, has been working with the city on a couple of initiatives over the years, with the housing study as well as with the TAD and moving through those steps. We work in economic development and real estate analysis, very much in the public-private partnership world, and so understanding all of the motivations and needs of every public entity and how to make those fruitful partnerships. So we can go here to the next slide. I just want to overview the process. And so we start looking, and maybe I'll zoom out a little bit to say that TADs are a tool, and they really come in two flavors. One is a project-specific TAD, which is really what we're talking about here, supporting one of these developments. There are also area-wide TADs that exist where you don't necessarily know exactly what's going there, but you know that you need to incentivize something for the market to show up. So that's really the first step, is thinking about and defining those boundaries for the district, having that financial analysis, and then creating the redevelopment plan. And that plan is what is adopted by the city of Cedartown. They successfully voted on the referendum to have their redevelopment powers law, and so that gives them the opportunity to put this tool into place. And how the tool is used is within the city of Cedartown's discretion with its partners. And so it's not tied directly to the development that we just had. There are later steps that will outline legally all of the obligations and expectations of how the TAD will work. So the first public hearing was on December 1st, and hoping for the city to approve that plan later this week on the 18th. Once that happens, that is when those property values will be frozen in terms of their obligation. Those values will continue to go to the entities that are taxing them through those millages for the perpetuity of the TAD. They're frozen in that year. So if it's adopted on December 30th, then it's 2025 values, and if it's on January 1st, it's 2026 values. So that's how the law sees it. And then finally, once that happens, so we're still in those steps, concurrence by the county and schools is the next step in understanding that. And so beginning of next year, assuming the TAD is the redevelopment plan is approved, that's when those conversations will formalize and when you'll start getting into more of the nitty gritty. But we've got numbers here to help give you an idea of what that looks like. So this next one will go simply through kind of we've done an economic impact assessment on this site as well, based on the development that's being proposed. And so overall, during construction, there'll be 220 jobs, local jobs that are within the entirety of the county here. And on a permanent basis, at full build out, this development will support 156 jobs annually in those retail occupations. We also, per the law, it is necessary to understand the school impact analysis, and so within the TAD, we know that there is a townhome development, and that will add an estimated 75 students if that townhome development is realized at what is proposed to today. That won't be all at once, and we understand that the phasing of the townhome development is also dependent upon the retail center being able to capture more of that market and support more residential here. We'll get into this, but the increased retail sales will also really benefit the East Loss revenues throughout the whole county. So a TAD works, you can go to the next one. A TAD works here, we've explained this in words, but some of us visual learners like yourself are helpful in this way. So this bottom pink bar is what I'm referring to when I say that the base value is frozen, it's locked in. That means that the revenues that you're seeing today will continue through this TAD. All of the increment goes into the TAD fund. The TAD fund is what is used to support qualifying investments that can be made. All of those really revolve around infrastructure. So 3 ways that TADs can legally be utilized here is if you've got blight within an area, if you have inadequate infrastructure capacity, which is that is the reason for this TAD being able to be utilized, is covering the gap in development costs that Tyler outlined here, is really around that utilities and infrastructure capacity. That's what's driving a lot of the gap, and so TAD funds can only be spent on those certain qualifying items. When that TAD expires, which is dependent upon any encumbrance on that would mean if there is a resolution or an agreement for payments for that infrastructure, for that deal to be done, or if these future values are bonded, the life of that bond is what dictates the life of the TAD. And again, all of that gets sorted out legally and with cooperation once the TAD is in place. Once the TAD expires, the entities will continue to receive, there will be no encumbrance on the property values, the property taxes, and all parties will benefit from that increase in increment. So go to the next one, please. And so this is what we were referring to earlier to say, when all parties agree to obligate those funds, their revenues, you can see this green is what the with the county's TAD revenue would be should they opt in. The light gray is the school's revenue, and the dark green here is the city's revenues. And so you can think of it right now, when they adopt the redevelopment plan, they will only be obligating their city revenues to the TAD fund. But you see the multiplication factor that's possible when you have all parties involved. You can go to the next one here. So thinking of, what are the impacts to the school board today, during construction, during the full build out, and once the TAD expires. So currently, the schools will continue to receive $110,000 in property taxes. This is looking at the entirety of the TAD. This is not just the development-specific parcel. So the picture you saw earlier with the outline of all those parcels, they're all included in that. And the current base value is $7.3 million. Now, during construction, Polk County Schools will see an estimated $264,000 in one-time sales tax revenue from the East Lost. So these are sales that are related to construction, as well as the labor force that comes in and spends money. All of those are those one-time fees over a 2-year period, construction period. During the operation, Polk County will receive, and this is related to those sales tax numbers, between $370,000 and maybe up to $600,000 annually from ongoing sales tax. This is the range because obviously the development is going to, it won't be all out of the ground on day one, so it can't collect all of those retail sales, but once it's at full completion, you're looking at over $500,000 annually from the East Lost. Now, once the TAD is dissolved and the school board and the city and the county, should they opt in, would see that increase from 110,000 in property taxes to that 835 from property taxes at the conclusion of the TAD, and then those would. Here, for estimation purposes, we're using a 20-year TAD frame. That isn't obligatory in the redevelopment plan. That's something that's sorted out later. Go to the next one, please. Thank you. And so this graph is considering only the school's revenues. You will see that bottom base value, just like the graphic, is continuing to flow to the schools. You'll see a slightly higher number here, where in year 21, that's including personal and property taxes at a little over $940,000. So during this 20-year period, what does that mean for you all? You'll continue to see those base values of today's dollars amounting to $2.2 million in personal and property taxes over that estimated 20-year TAD period. But what it means in East Lost revenues is much higher, so that $7.5 to $10.5 million as a minimum value for what the sales at this development will bring specifically to the East Lost. Considering that no TAD and no new development happens here, you will see 2.3 or 3.2 million in personal property taxes. That's just considering the base value increasing and accounting for inflation of an increase in those property values just as a baseline, not considering new development. However, there will be will not be the retail spaces to collect the retail sales. So you won't see an increase in this geography from East Lost. And so that's, to Tyler's point, really the trade-off, because we understand that school boards, regardless, still have to provide those services and educate the students in Polk County. And so understanding where the East Lost revenues come into, I understand there are East Lost limitations to what that can be spent on, but we've seen in many cases where East Lost money may be able to take on some of those capital expenditures that you have in your general fund and see kind of, again, this is much farther down the line in negotiations, but it's something that we see often in understanding what the obligations that you all are taking on here and also considering your future responsibilities. I believe that is my last slide, but we could take any questions and maybe for Tyler too, now that we've seen all of the information.
I want us to go over a couple things that I've noticed, and let me make sure of them too. The TAD, the property tax revenue, why that's important is because there will be a bond issuance. Those are revenue bonds, which means technically the plan is for revenue bonds, which means those bonds are not going to be a liability on the books for Polk School District or really any governmental entity. They're based on the increased value of property tax to pay those revenue bonds back, correct?
Usually that is the best practice to see, the revenue bonds to do that. And again, Cedartown, the city of Cedartown is the redevelopment authority. here. And so, yes, you may be obligating funds here, but depending on the bond issuance, the school board would not be liable for that, under your circumstance.
I got you, all right. You showed the incremental value in your presentation. I'm assuming you used as the baseline millage rate, our existing millage rate, with no change throughout the entire presentation, is that correct?
Correct.
And so if we had a higher rate, that would of course go further into the TAD fund and you would get that value, or would it, how is that statutorily?
It's not, in the state of Georgia, other states differ, so if you do look up, it's often called tax increment financing. TIF is how the rest of the nation does it, but Georgia's very special, we call them TADs. It varies by state, but in Georgia, it does not lock in the millage. So if you raise or lower your millage, that is applied to that base value. I like to talk about TADs as kind of an invisible fence. Everybody that is in that fence is still paying their taxes. They may not even know, except for if there's a line item on their tax bill, they're paying their taxes regardless. What really happens is when the tax assessor sees it, they take that base, give that base to the entities that it needs to, that it's obligated to, and then the increment that exists there goes into the fund. So if the millages were to change, that would just be a calculation difference on the tax assessor's side. But a person would still be paying that millage. Does that answer your question clearly?
Yeah, well, clearly is always a little big.
It's
But
crystal
yeah,
clear, right?
It's crystal clear, it's crystal clear. Okay, I might have more as the rest of the board has a question or two. Well, deafening silence, so I'll throw
I figure we're gonna sit through this about 4 more times. So,
Well,
no need to waste the Christmas meeting.
for this, much longer, but
Well, that's an important point. This is not to be taken lightly, these revenues, right? And so, working with Cedartown, their will is that this be a transparent process, if it not a little laborious, because we're explaining things multiple times in different lights and from different viewpoints. But it is important that happens, so that when you do get into the negotiations of the resolution and of development agreement, and if you are asked to obligate your funds to this, that you all know what that looks like in year 1, in year 5, in year 20. That's a very important part of fiscal policy and the jobs that you all do here.
One quick thing, all the numbers on the revenue side, on the E-Splosh side, right? You're assuming that another E-Splosh would pass. Okay.
That would outlive.
Yeah, actually, it would be 3 E-Splosh in a row, because they're 6-year splosh.
Yes, we are assuming that 1% education special location tax does continue.
and that also, what is our current E-Splosh commitment out for? Is it 30, I want to say it's 2034 or 36?
2031, I believe.
Is it 31? Okay, so currently through 2031 is our current E-Splosh. Okay. All right. Okay.
Yes, but a TAD does not encumber sales tax, right? So
Right.
that would continue regardless of this. You just wouldn't have those retail sales that were coming in, because the development wouldn't be possible without filling this gap. It's the but-for test in kind of economic development.
Okay. All right. Well, I know the next steps, and Mr. Guzman, you can help tell us a little bit about this. What will be, we've kind of speculated a little bit, what are next steps in this process?
So the next steps is City of Cedartown will vote on the redevelopment plan this Thursday. I've got that resolution ready and the plan is finalized. Everyone should have a copy of that plan, but let me know if you don't. I'll be happy to send it. And then the county commission will be receiving a presentation in January, very similar to this, focused on the county sales tax level and the differences there. And then come January, February is when we're anticipating that the developer needs guidance from the city, the county, and the school board on whether or not to join the TAD. Which really, to go backwards a little bit, because Tate explained it, the city is already voting on being in the TAD district and freezing the values for the city's sake. But that doesn't mean that the city said automatically yes to developers' numbers and, you know, how the length of the term of the TAD. Every TAD bond is different with developers. If the school district and the county decide not to join the TAD, then what the city would turn around and do is just dissolve the TAD because the development can't happen without all three groups coming together. But to freeze those values for the intent of the development, the city is already going to vote on establishing the TAD and the redevelopment powers. But January, February is when we're anticipating decisions from the school board and the county on whether or not to join the tax allocation district. And then staff is open. I know the elected officials for the city of Cedartown as well for any conversations and discussions, because once that district is set, then we sit down with the developer, as Tate mentioned, and there's where the negotiations happen. The developer, you've heard his numbers. To be open with the room, the number was higher previously, so there have already been negotiations that have been occurring with the city of Cedartown. We just can't, the city cannot make the decision on its own anymore because the property tax revenues just from the city millage rate can't make up that difference for the development. And then that's where those decisions come in on the term of the bond and how those factors work. And every tax allocation is different, so it's Tate insinuated. There'll come a day where we come back to the school district for a different type of TAD district where there won't be a developer associated with it. It'll be just for the potential of trying to attract somebody in the future. City of Rome has done it both ways before. You know, the Texas Roadhouse development in Rome is a TAD district. The Olive Garden development in the City of Rome is a tax allocation district. The River District also is a tax allocation district. They've done it for different types of projects. And then if the development is successful, the bond can get paid off sooner. There's newspaper articles where the Olive Garden district got paid off earlier than their term bond. And that's what you want. That way you can collect that property tax increment much faster.
And if there are revenues left over in a TAD fund, they return to the general fund of that entity. I get that question a lot. If that were to happen, you can just, as long as there are no financial encumbrance on a TAD fund, it can be dissolved by the entity that holds redevelopment powers at any time.
So what impacted those being paid off sooner?
Growth or more commercial development. So you have noticed that there was a little bit of a difference in that sales tax projections between Tate and what Tyler mentioned. Tyler's anticipating and is already gathering more out parcel tenants that are interested in his development. Well, that means more potential property taxes that are being paid. There's more buildings on that big development, that's more property tax that goes into the TAD bond. Much faster development. What we want is the consultant that's conservative and say, well, you know, based on the site plan we've got, we're anticipating right now just the Publix, Marshalls, Ross, and several of those tenants on that strip. They've gone with no assumptions on what's going to go on those out parcels. And you want that. As those build up, that's just more property tax being paid, and that's more shopping opportunities for folks to pay into the sales tax. So there's different views of it. With the Olive Garden development, I mean, they fully filled that up, and I mean, you even had like the Chick-fil-A containers there. So they've been creative with their site and putting more things there, and people have shopped more all throughout those out parcels.
Other questions today for our presenters? All right, not hearing any other. Thank you all for coming and speaking to us. We look forward to seeing how this matures as it goes forward. And if there's other questions, we will reach out. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hope your Christmas is filled less with TAD talk and more with cheer, although I love TADs.
We appreciate that. Hope for the same. All right, thank you. Mr. Superintendent, item number 6 is committee reports.
Yes, we had our budget committee meeting on November 4th, and I'm gonna get Ms. Mays, if she would, to give a report on that.
Do I remember it?
I hope you do.
I do. We had our budget meeting. It was Mr. Lumpkin, Mr. Madden, myself, Dr. Renshaw, our finance people, and what I can tell you right now is we are looking better money-wise than we have in a long time. And a lot of that credit goes to the fiscal responsibility of Mr. Lumpkin and our finance department.
Bravo.
So I appreciate it.
Great. All right, thank you. Item number 7, action items. Item A is financial reports. Mr. Superintendent.
Yeah, our Director of Finance, Ms. Melissa Allred, will present the financial report for October.
The district has completed 33.33% of the fiscal year as of October 2025. Revenues were 15.98% less than expected. Expenditures were 11.83% less than projected. And the general fund balance as of October was $5,024,998.55.
And I recommend the board approve the financial report for October.
You've heard the recommendation from the superintendent. Do I hear a motion to do so? Mr. Williams? All right, Ms. Mays, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So approved. Item B, the YOS platform.
Yes, and speaking with Ms. May, speaking of trying to be as financial,
He's gonna throw me under the bus.
yeah, well, what I'm gonna say is, I don't spend money unless these ladies come to me and say that we can do this. And I would like for finance, and I would like for Nathan Medley to talk just a little bit about this YOS platform, because it's gonna be able to, we're gonna be able to eliminate some of the things that we're spending on right now for this program. So if you guys, Nathan, I think you headed this up.
Yeah, what we're looking at with this program is to streamline a lot of our processes right now that we're just all over the place. We do a lot of paper things when it comes to onboarding or employee information and that kind of thing. So this is gonna take everything that we do and put it into one platform. So it's gonna help us with our onboarding, it's gonna help us with our hiring, it's gonna help us with time and attendance, keeping up with that. It's also gonna help us with absences, teacher absences. It's gonna be a platform where teachers can go. We can do all the contracts through here, so it's all on one thing. So, you know, it's taking several pieces of a puzzle that we have sitting on the table that we've yet to resolve and put it all in one that we can put together.
And Ms. Allred and Tammy here, I would not even ask for this, but ladies, could y'all kind of explain how it will help your department with this?
Well, they're developing some things that'll work along with our payroll. It's in the developmental stages, but it'll streamline some of the payroll processing that we do.
And the most important part is it's actually going to replace a few other programs. So like the onboarding right now and application process, we pay one company for. This will be included in this. Employee self-service will also be included in this. We're paying another company for that. It's going to basically encompass multiple things that we're paying different vendors for in one and integrate everything with our accounting system.
The 1095Cs, we have a company that processes those and gets them out. I think, what, did we pay $6,000 for that last year? That will be included. We will no longer have to pay that $6,000. It will be a part of what this company can do.
And it's got on here $98,000. It's a $49,000 initial startup fee, and then it's going to be $49,000 per year, if I'm correct in saying that.
I believe it goes up 5%.
5%, but we will not.
First year's 49.
The next, we would pay $49,000 right now, and then July 1, we would put it in for the next year, for the next budget year at the $49,000. I recommend, when I was in HR, you know, we had paperwork all over the place, and when you talk to other districts, they're all, a lot of it is they do all of it through a system like this, and it will just streamline a lot of things that we've got all over the place right now. And like I said, I would not recommend this if those two ladies right there didn't come to me and say, this is something we need and we can afford it right now. So right now, I want to recommend that we approve this, but also it's under, we're looking at the contract right now with that before we officially sign off on it. Rob is going through it right now to make sure everything's okay. This is a Georgia-based company. They are not outside of Georgia as of right now. So, as far as I know, these guys are real easy to work with, and if they create something for another school district, we automatically get it. We don't have to, if they find an easier way to do stuff, we automatically get it.
What's the current cost or expense for the programs we're using now collectively?
I think it was, I know for sure that it will be replacing 3 different programs, possibly 4, at about 17 to 18,000 based on last year's numbers. So we haven't been billed for everything yet, so it would probably be about 18 to 20,000 that would be coming off the budget and only being replaced by this.
A lot more functionality is gonna be offered in this platform than what those 3 softwares currently
And
exist.
they did, mention that they're working with another school district to create a process for something else that I don't remember right off the top of my head, but I remember being super excited and being like, whenever it's done, we're stealing that. So that's part of the allure of this is they are currently contracted, I think, what did they say, 80 different school districts in Georgia? 80 out of the 180 or so. So, and they have no intentions of going outside of the state.
And one good thing, it works with our program that we have in place right now. So that's a big plus.
And
It
works
offers
for-
us a lot of checks and balances where we don't have right now, and then just drastically improves our workflow. So, I've talked with other districts that have kind of moved with this platform, and they've been extremely pleased with them. I've also looked at 2 other platforms similar to this, but they have some sole source, priorities that, is all encompassed in this program as well. So,
And I will say, when I first came up here to the central office, like, our days absence are done on paper. They're still done on paper. And over the past couple of years, when people have gone to retire, we've ran into some issues. The HR department back there, we've ran into some issues to where a mistake was made, people thinking they had this many days of sick leave for retirement, and they thought they had this much, and we said, no, you didn't, by looking at our stuff. Well, we had to go dig, and I think we had to pull out every packet from 30 years ago and go through every one of those to find this person's absences throughout the year, and they were right, and what they had written down years ago back there in the files was wrong, and so we've had to audit every one of those for the past 30 years. Laura's been doing that, and so this will just bring it all into one where people can go, teachers can go in and employees can go in and look at it and see what they've got. So I recommend the board approve it pending the evaluation from Rob for the contract.
And just so y'all know, Nathan and I just talked about this yesterday. They have sent us a proposed agreement that I've looked at, and I want to tweak a little bit. We have a proposed software use agreement that we generally get folks to sign when we're using their software, so we're going to kind of try to blend those 2 agreements together. I just don't want, we've signed some software agreements in the past that had some provisions that were not favorable to us, and I just want to make sure we don't make that mistake again. So the motion would just, if there is a motion, would be to approve the agreement with YOS platform subject to a legal review.
Okay. All right, so do we have that recommendation for a motion this afternoon for the OS platform? For Mr. Morgan, I have a motion. Second by Ms. Mays. Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Item C, policies. Mr. Superintendent.
Yes, I recommend the board remove the following PSD policy from the table for approval, and this is JCDAF. This is the use of electronic devices by students.
Okay. You've heard the recommendation to remove this policy from the table for approval. If you would, board, if we have that motion to remove it from the table. Mr. Williams? Second by Ms. Mays. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's approved to remove it from the table.
And I recommend that you approve policy JCDAF.
Okay?
Use of electronic devices by students.
Okay. All right, now you hear the recommendation from the superintendent for the policy JCDAF to implement. Do I have a motion?
So moves.
Mr. Morgan? Do I have a second? Mr. Williams? Any discussion? This is a state mandated K through 8 currently, or is this the K through 12?
Well, we're going to be K through 12, but this is what the state mandated. We had to have it on policy by January 1st. It will not go into effect until July.
Gotcha. All right. Okay. Any other questions or any discussions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Not hearing any. Item D, 2026 board meeting calendar.
Yes, you guys have got to approve the board meeting calendar for next year. I recommend the board approve the 2026 board meeting calendar. This calendar has the work session meeting the first Tuesday of each month and the regular session meeting on the second Tuesday of each month. The exceptions will be April, July, and December, where we will have combined meetings, and that's because of spring break, July 4th, and then in December we have the one.
Okay. All right, great. Now we have that recommendation. Do I have a motion? Mr. Williams, second by Ms. Mays. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's approved. Item E, field trips.
Yes, I recommend the board approve the following overnight field trips that you see listed up there.
Okay. You see all these where our kids are traveling? Do I have a motion to accept? Ms. Mays, second. Mr. Williams, anybody want to talk about it? All right. Not hearing any. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, there we go. That's approved. Oh, man. Item number 8, board member comments. Let's start off with our comments today. We always try to start with Mr. Williams down at the end of the table because he's always one of the first ones here.
Biggest mouth.
There you go, biggest mouth. Go ahead.
I want to congratulate a lot of our CTAE contestants. I think we had several first place and second place winners in the region, both at Rockmart and Cedartown High School. And I think we had cheerleading programs that both finished well in their competitions at state. Last but not least, just want to send out our condolences to the family in the situation at Manward Elementary School.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Hawkins.
Yeah, well, Drew took my thunder on the CTA, so, but congratulations to those participants and those teachers for a fine job. Also, I'm glad to be working with Mark right now on implementing some new ag ed for elementary schools. It just so happens it's in the magazine that we had on our counter today, but so making some progress on that, so that's exciting to me.
Great. Ms. Mays.
Merry Christmas. You survived one, now one more to go. Have a great holiday. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Morgan, we're so glad to see you here today.
Wow, I'm glad to be here. First of all, I want to say that the board, we spent time at GSBA for legal training, all other kind of training. I just left each board member a 75th GSBA pen and a pencil. And more so about that, that I want everybody to know this board, we spend as much time in training as possible so that we can become the very best board for our children in this county. And I just want everybody to know that. Second of all, I appreciate all of the thoughts, the prayers, and just plain old, just help that we've received from the loss of our daughter, Crystal. It's been difficult to deal with losing a daughter. And I know a lot of people lose loved ones, you lose a father, a mother, but when you lose a child, all of them are deep, but it's deep down inside. And I just ask for y'all to just continue to pray for us. My wife is still, it's just difficult, but just continue to pray for us and lift us up, and we appreciate it. And we just thank you for all the prayers, and for everybody, the city, board members, school, attorney, everybody. There's going to be a formal letter of appreciation coming out, but I'd just like to pass this around to my daughter. Anybody would like to look at the Crystal. She affected everybody. She was such a sweet one. Went in the hospital with a stomach ache, big smiling face, and 3.5 weeks in ICU, and we never left her. But then I know she's gone now. She's away, walking on gold in the presence of the Lord right now. So that's the one thing that keep us going every day. So again, thank y'all very much. Thanks for the prayers.
Amen. I want to tell you thank you to all of our hardworking PSD employees and teachers. Y'all go above and beyond every day, and I thank you, and it is my hopes and prayers you have a wonderful Christmas season. I also want to share with you the hardware that all that training we did and the recognition by the Georgia School Board Association. This will stand with many of our others, showing our exemplary status. Our name was called in a good way, and we like that, and that was a good thing, I think. And also, too, I am thankful very much for Mr. Mark Lumpkin and Ms. Wendy Harden. And as a token of we want to make sure and wish them a very Merry Christmas. We got y'all's right over here. Be sure you get it from Mark. It's right here in front of me.
Thank y'all, I appreciate it.
And I just want to thank all of you again for all that you do. And we're very, very thankful for these wonderful gifts y'all showered us with today. And we're thankful that the good Lord watches over us and we get to celebrate Christmas.
Amen.
I am very thankful for that. So, without anything else, Mr. Superintendent, do we have to go to the executive session today? Maybe Santa's gonna say no.
Well, I wished he could, but no, we need executive session for legal matters and some personnel.
All right. Need a motion? Got it from Vicky, got a second by Drew. Anybody else wanna say yes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
They all did.
But they take the food.
Yeah. All right. We're coming back into session. I need a motion to do so. From Ms. Mays and a second by Mr. Morgan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're now out of executive session.
All right,
Yeah.
we got personnel.
Okay, yeah.
I recommend the board approve the personnel actions as presented. All new personnel recommendations are pending a completion of a background check and letter of release from previous school system.
You've heard our superintendent. Do we have a motion to do as said? Mr. Morgan, second by Ms. Mays. Anybody want to talk about it? It still has a voice. Nobody wants to say anything. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Sounds like it passed.
Sounds good.
Yeah. What else is going on? Good updates.
Future meetings, January 6th, work session, and then January 13th, the regular board meeting.
All right.
Oh,
Ms. Mays wants to come out and close this thing. Is adjourned. Do I have a second? All right, Mr. Williams. All those in favor say aye.
Raise your left hand on the second.